President Joe Biden kicked off National HBCU Week Conference in Philadelphia. This is an annual event that happens in the country. Of course, it is a three-day event highlighting the nation's historically black colleges and universities. He touted what the administration has done in the last almost 4 years.
We all know, and I mean this sincerely, that HBCU students are just as capable as any other students. No, but HBCUs don't have the endowments like many other colleges and universities that are able to fund research labs, improve campus infrastructure, and so much more. That's why I'm proud to be delivering on a record $17 billion. $17 billion for HBCUs, the most ever any administration has ever committed.
Ever. So don't believe any lies from Donald Trump or from Senator Tim Scott or anyone else. Stephen Benjamin is Assistant to the President and Director of Public Engagement for the White House. He joins us now from Philadelphia. Glad to have you here. Steve, the thing here is that I really do get a kick out of when I listen to these Trump folks talk about all the things that Trump did for HBCUs, but they never seem to put a number on the table. When we talk about this $17 billion, we're talking about students, faculty, staff, buildings, but also this impacts the broader area, the broader community that surrounds these HBCUs.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. Thank you for always doing some truth telling for all of us. We're talking about a record amount of investment in the historically black colleges and universities, over $17 billion, $1.3 billion announced this year alone. That's what the president came up here to also, in a very detailed way, break down resources going to so many different colleges and universities, very specifically aligned with some of the trillions of dollars that are being spent along the lines of infrastructure and semiconductor chip manufacturing, future fuels and clean energy, just so many things happening. Now, usually folks won't give you details around the former president's investment because there are no details. It's over $17 billion is a record amount invested in our historically black colleges and universities. Not only, this is, as the president said in the clip you played, these young people are gifted and talented. My daughter's a student at Spelman College in Atlanta. She could have gone anywhere she wanted to go. But the force multiplier that our HBCUs are, you think about it, 40% of all black engineers come from HBCUs, 50% of all black teachers, 70% of all black doctors and dentists, 80% of all black judges. And the president, of course, have done a record job appointing black women to the appeals court bench, more than every other president in the history of the country combined. And obviously, as the president loves to say, 100% of black vice presidents have come from HBCUs, the great Howard University. The point that you just made very specifically, I think, is lost on so many people, is the economic engines. I served as mayor of Columbia, South Carolina, a proud home to Allen University and Benedict College, where I served as a trustee for so many years, over a decade. These colleges and universities are great engines of economic growth for the communities in which they reside, and certainly also as helping create real wealth generators in the individuals that matriculate through the universities. Just a report that came out from the Council of Economic Advisors early this year laid out, and I wrote the notes down here. We're talking about $16.5 billion annual economic impact the HBCUs are having on their respective communities, and also $146 billion in collective lifetime earnings. This is the thing about HBCUs. The significant number of low wealth and first generation students that matriculate at HBCUs do a better job than in any other college and any other demographic, I might add, of moving from the bottom quintile of American economic society into the middle class. We're talking about a significant leap because of the very special education they're receiving at HBCU. So this is a good investment for America. And the president, he talks about his visit to Norfolk State as vice president and realizing that these kids were gifted and talented. And he planted the seed in him that if he ever had the opportunity with the stroke of a pen to make a difference at the HBCUs, he was going to do it. And that's what he and the vice president have been doing, leading from the front.
And see, this is the thing for me. I mean, I was seeing some comment today, some crazy deranged woman saying, "See, Biden, Harris, they've done nothing for black people," and you're sitting there going, "What? This don't count?"
It's man. I know you and I have had so many conversations. This makes your head hurt listening to the foolishness when you give people facts and they come back with foolishness. It's crazy. Now we hadn't talked about Pell Grant increases, that $900 increase in Pell Grants, which of course benefits our kids in HBCUs much more significantly. We're talking about 2023 last year being the lowest unemployment on record for black folk in this country, the lowest since we started disaggregating data just over 50 years ago. We're talking about the greatest significant increase in black wealth and closing the wealth gap between the black community and white community under this president. That's before we get into all the social issues. We're talking about record amounts of black businesses being started, the most businesses in the last 20 years. And it comes all through the lens of equity that the president and vice president approached this administration with. They knew that we had to do a lot. You think about, we all obviously all went through our own forms of trauma in the wake of the pandemic. But the greatest pandemic since 1918, maybe the greatest economic disruption we saw, some would say since 1929, the greatest social unrest in the wake of the murder of George Floyd since 1968, all wrapped up into one period of time where our president decided he needed to do two things. One, he needed to stop the carnage of the pandemic. While the former president was telling people to inject bleach and shine UV rays up their private areas, our president decided he needed to get shots in arms. He had to save lives, and then he needed to save livelihoods. He recognized that there are communities all across this country in urban, suburban, and rural America that have been underinvested in. And he decided he's going to make some long-term decisions and lead from the front and put broadband. Babies who couldn't get educated because they couldn't get access to broadband. They're sitting in McDonald's parking lots and public library parking lots after they've closed just to get access to broadband and do their homework. Everything he did from an equity lens, realizing that some of us had farther to go than others did. And the proof is in the pudding, not just in our HBCUs, but in wealth creation and fighting discrimination and biases and home appraisals, and can't get Congress to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. So the president signs an executive order directing every single federal agency under his purview to follow all the rules that we were all demanding after the murder of George Floyd. The man's been leading from the front, and you can other people throw out the BS and the misinformation, disinformation that they text to our brothers all across this country and spread across our barbershops. So it's just foolishness, and I think it's up to each and every one of us to continue to speak the truth and make sure people understand that I'm not giving much to hyperbole, but the future of our communities as we know it, the future of our children and grandchildren depends upon some real decisions that we have to make this year. And then looking back favorably under at the Biden-Harris record gives us a real roadmap as to what's possible.
And I think people also have to understand when the administration does this, it also spurs other investment. Bloomberg Foundation announced multiple millions they're giving to 4 HBCU medical schools. Meharry was one of them. They got $175 million. Go to my iPad, Anthony. This was just last week. An anonymous donor stepped up and gave Meharry another $20 million. What we have seen, of course, Mackenzie Scott, what she's been doing as well, we are seeing, first of all, we saw a lot of people step up in the wake of the death of George Floyd, but because the administration has put this focus on HBCUs, highlighting these crown jewels, now other people are responding. And so this is also the overflow effect of the administration of Democrats in Congress putting the focus and the money towards HBCUs.
Yeah, absolutely. Roland, there are very few problems facing our society, and you know it all too well, because I see the work that you do out on behalf of charitable institutions and causes every day. There are very few problems that only the government can solve. You need a public focus. You need private focus. You need philanthropic focus. You need people at different levels of the government, from the federal government, state government, local government, and you need real community leadership. making sure, and that's why I love the work I do in the Office of Public Engagement. It's our job to work with civil society, with church groups, with faith groups, with labor and business, with social groups like your fantastic fraternity of Alpha Phi Alpha and mine of Kappa Alpha Psi, but folks who are doing great work. And all the other Divine Nine, I might add, too. The president is also the very first president to establish a working group, the Divine Nine, in the White House, because he wanted to make sure that we knew with what organizations we're doing out there. We worked closely with everyone from every group you might think of, because our job is to listen very closely and find ways that we can work together to solve complex problems. That's the way you get things done, working together.
Absolutely. It has been a considerable focus. And when you also have committed players in Congress, folks like Congressman Bobby Scott of Virginia, Congresswoman Alma Adams of North Carolina, and so many others, those things matter. And I got to say this because, again, I really do get sick and tired of listening to some black people who say the Congressional Black Caucus is worthless. They do nothing on behalf of black people. And so I don't know why they're there. It's dumb to me because even though Republicans right now control the U.S. House, the reality is it still matters in terms of what they do. And everything you talked about, none of that stuff got done without the Congressional Black Caucus. Even when people were talking about making cuts, they were there to say, no, that's not going to happen. And so it takes partners. And there are some, if there's one bright spot among Republicans, it's they largely supported HBCUs as well. So this has not necessarily been a controversial thing, but the CBC has played a huge role in making this $17 billion real.
You mentioned Ms. Adams and Mr. Scott. I throw in, of course, my Congressman Jim Clyburn. But I would tell you, under the leadership of so many, I'll say our Chair Emeritus, Joyce Beatty. But I got to lean in a little bit on Stephen Horsford as chair of the CBC. A super sharp brother who's focused like a laser beam on moving the needle on work, wages, and wealth in ways that I think would make anyone who spent some time with him incredibly proud. The focus on record-breaking amounts of procurement, of government contracts with minority-owned businesses. We're talking about $180 billion in federal procurement opportunities for underserved minority and small businesses. We're talking about the number of loans to the small business, from the Small Business Administration to Black-owned businesses having more than doubled under this presidency, working in partnership with folks at the CBC. We're talking about Latina businesses growing at a faster rate than anyone else in the country. But that comes with a constant push and pull, pressure, thoughtful policy making that the CBC has led on. I couldn't be more proud to call so many members of the Congressional Black Caucus my friends. For so many years, they were considered the conscience of the Congress, and they still are. But when you talk about real, incredible, thoughtful policy making that keeps your eyes on the ball every single day and dogged leadership to make sure things happen, we couldn't have better policymakers in the federal government than the members of the CBC.
All right, Steve Benjamin, we surely appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining us from Philadelphia. Thanks a lot.
All right. God bless you, brother. Be well.
I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Folks, let's go back to our panel here. We were talking about, again, what folks are saying. Okay, I need somebody, y'all got to show up, so I need y'all to kill that audio. I want to show y'all this, and I really try to ignore some really stupid people who just say stupid stuff. But this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about on Congo. This fool here, she goes, because she was responding to this tweet that Angela Rye had posted. She goes, the Congressional Black Caucus is a group of bougie boule folk who don't do a damn thing for the black community. They rush to pass bills for Israel, but sit on legislation that helps black people. And Angela Rye is part of that club. Savvy Sabs number 2, you are dumb. I mean, these people just say stuff and they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. They have no idea how certain things are inserted into certain bills, how some things are pulled out. It's just a lie. It's just a flat out lie when you start going through resources that are coming to black communities and others. I mean, these folks just say this stuff, and I see it all the time, and they literally don't understand what the hell actually happens in Congress at all.
And that's why I really love, when you go into these HBCU segments, it's just like a class, man. And one of the things I really also love is that you always put out the clips on your on all of your segments, but your HBCU segments on YouTube, and your other platforms. So folks like me can take the link and share it with these people, because some of these guys who are out there are bots and are ignorant, but some of these people are folks who are in our community who spend all of their time naysaying. And I love what you did at the beginning of this segment. You talked to the brother and you said you noticed that some of these Republicans who say Trump did more for all of these black HBCUs never come with the numbers. They never come with the facts. And the fact that these guys want to spend so much time condemning what members of the CBC are doing, condemning what Biden is doing as it relates to HBCUs, and what hopefully, when I say hopefully that she wins, President Harris will continue when she wins, the facts are there. And why don't you actually go to the HBCUs, talk to the leadership, talk to the students, and see what's happening on the ground. The fact that we have to continue to serve as agents of informing our own community about the incredible things that are happening, not only in our HBCUs, but our partnership with this administration. It's strategic on some people who just don't want us to support these. And for people to come at people like Angela Rye and the great work that the CBC is doing, it's just ignorant and it's disrespectful. But my hope is that more people who are watching videos like this, watching clips like this, will at least have some fodder to share with those ignorant people out there, because it's like they want to get rid of the CBC. And then what do we have, right? They always have smoke for the black folks who are trying to do something, and they're not doing anything themselves.
Look, that's what constantly happens, Renita. And I just sit here and I look at some of these people. And my whole deal is this here. If you want to offer a critique of the Congressional Black Caucus or the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation or the CBC PAC or the CBC Institute, okay, make it a substantive fact. I just can't stand these ignorant people who throw stuff out like, there ain't enough black people. Ain't no bills enough black people. Some fool posted, I ain't gonna vote for Kamala Harris because she won't do anything specifically for black people. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
The investment that the Biden-Harris administration made for HBCUs is so important and substantial, because what a lot of people forget is that the HBCUs are technically private schools. So when you look at state schools, like the University of Florida, University of Georgia, schools like that, they get money in the state budget every year. They get money to help with their buildings and facilities. They also get money in the form of scholarships. For students get money in the form of scholarships to attend these universities, which makes it easier for folks in the state to go to those state schools. But with the HBCUs, they are technically private universities. And I think that a lot of times people look at them and they don't see them in the same way they would see a Harvard, where you just have to pay to go, which is not a state school. But the HCUs are in the same boat. So
there are public HBCUs. So
right, there are some, but a lot of them are private, and
yes.
Of that, because they, by law, they cannot get the same money.
The majority of them are public.
They cannot get the same money.
Julian, hold on. We need to finish, then go Julian.
Thank you. A lot of them are private universities, and they just are blocked from getting some of the same money that the state schools can get. And so because of that, they do need additional support. And so this, I think, is a substantial investment, and it's important, and it's a big deal.
Julian?
Of the 100 or so HBCUs, about 40 of them, a little under the 40, are private. The remainder are public. They do get state funds. The state funds they get are not fair. They don't get their share of state funds, but they are public universities. The challenge, of course, is number one, the privates like Bennett College that I was once president of. We're private, so we don't necessarily get access to the public funds. It has to come, and thank God for Alma Adams, Congresswoman Alma Adams, who always lifted Bennett up in state appropriations in many ways, but many states do not. So, but the public-private, the publics are represented by the Thurgood Marshall Fund, the privates by the United Negro College Fund, two different funds with the same purpose. But that's really not the point. The point is that we have, I'm happy that you had the brother on, Roland, and the HBCU Week is in Philly this week. Usually it's in D.C. I don't know what happened, but it's all good. But the challenge is that Black education is not a high priority in any administration. President Biden has probably done more than anyone else has in terms of lifting up our HBCUs. More certainly, the Bushes weren't bad. President Obama was not bad, but President Biden has been aggressively investing in HBCUs. And that's really important because we still have a majority of Black professionals coming out of HBCUs. The numbers are down, as the PWIs have been admitting us, but applications are up. It's so good. Applications up. Why? Because our young people are saying, I'm not putting up with this BS. I'm not going to go to a school where I'm discriminated against, where even though I play on a sports team, I'm not going to get any props. So our young people are being very discerning about what their possibilities are. But we have to give this administration credit. And what we also have to do is, as you say, look at the lies. Who are these fools who are saying, what are they saying? Biden hadn't done anything for Black people? Yes, he has. And HBCUs have been a primary beneficiary of his largesse.
Indeed. And so, again, folks just need to understand just this reality of what we are facing. All right, folks, who do this here? I'm going to play some of what President Biden had to say today. We actually streamed the speech. You can see the full almost 20-minute speech, but we're just going to play a few minutes of what he had to say today in Philadelphia to kick off HBCU Week.
As the saying goes, you all brung me to the dance. Folks, I want to get something straight at the outset. I love Kamala. But Delaware State's the best HBCU in America. They're the ones that, you think I'm kidding. I was a 29-year-old kid, and they embraced me. They embraced me like you can't imagine. And we won the second youngest person in American history because of HBCU called Delaware State. And by the way, I hired a young man from Delaware State named Tony Allen. Came to work for me. While there, I encouraged him to continue to extend his degree. He got his doctorate and left. He became president himself. I don't know how the hell that happened so quick. But Tony, thank you, man. I've been introduced countless times, but never quite like that. And I mean it, Tony, from the bottom of my heart. I'm deeply moved. By God's grace, we're true friends, and Delaware State will always have a special place in my heart, for real. And to the presidents and administrators of our 101 historic Black colleges and universities, it's an honor to celebrate, and I mean celebrate, HBCU Week with you. Before I begin, I want to make a quick reference, the attempted assassination against our former president in Florida yesterday. I commend the Secret Service for the expert handling of the situation, and the former president is protected from harm, and the subject is in custody. An acting head of the Secret Service is in Florida today assessing what happened and determining whether any further adjustments need to be made to ensure the safety of our former president. Let me just say, there is no, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, those of you who know me, many of you do, no place in political violence for political violence in America. None. Zero. Never. I've always condemned political violence. I always will in America. In America, we resolve our differences peacefully at the ballot box, not at the end of a gun. America suffered too many times the tragedy of an assassin's bullet. It solves nothing and just tears the country apart. We must do everything we can to prevent it and never give it any oxygen. Folks, now to today's event. It's an honor to recognize HBCU excellence in our nation. I see excellence in it every single day. I see this weekend the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. I tell you what, the foundation gala, only about 3,500 people there. And I was happy, and I've been wanting to do this to celebrate the first ever White House brunch to celebrate Black excellence. Black excellence. Which many of you and your alumni attended. It's about time to point out what's already been done. I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history. It taps into the full, I mean it. I made a commitment my administration is going to look like America. It taps into the full talents of our nation, including graduates of HBCUs like our amazing vice president is. Folks, together, Kamala and I know that an education makes a person free. HBCU's education makes you fearless as well. It matters. I mean it. More than 180 years, born under the shadow of slavery and Jim Crow, HBCUs have instilled a sense of purpose and freedom, a commitment to make a difference for all their students, to lift up not just yourselves, but others along the way. Institution grounded in the belief that every American of every race and every background, every zip code, and you know me, I mean this, should have a fair and equal chance to go as far as their God-given talents can take them. That's who we are. That's what we stand for. But as I've said before, we face an inflection point in history. It comes along every 6 or 7 generations. One of those rare moments in our history when the decisions we make now, right now, are going to determine the fate of our nation and the world for the next decades, for 6, 7 decades to come, and I mean it. When I wasn't going to run for president after my son died coming back from Iraq, I decided that I was going to write another book. I was going to write a book about the inflection points in world history, how it changed history, going all the way back to dealing with the printing press and how it's changed everything. But look, we're still in the battle. We're still in the battle for the very soul of America. In 2020, I ran, and I give you my word, this was the reason. I ran to redeem the soul of America and restore decency and dignity to the office of the presidency. I ran to rebuild and expand the backbone of America, the middle class. And I ran to unite the country, remind ourselves that we can do anything we want to do when we do it together. 4 years later, we made incredible progress because Kamala and I kept our commitment to you to ensure that all our students and all of our colleges and universities should be able to succeed. That's why I signed an executive order reestablishing the White House initiative on HBCUs after my predecessor allowed it to lapse. Thank you, Dr. Trent, for leading it.
Folks, again, if you want to see the full speech, simply go to our Black Star Network app or go to youtube.com/Roland S. Martin.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.